How's your life?
Okay. I'm like, I have nothing to do ever anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to make things up. But then, like, when I wake up in the morning, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, oh, there's literally nothing I have to do.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Even when I do have things to do, it's hard for me to get out of bed.
Yes. But like, especially now, I'm like, okay, so all these things I'm just doing like to bide my time, not because they're like benefiting my personal life at all, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it does. Like working in the garden helps me personally, and like reading and writing too. But no one's I'm not accountable to anyone, so like I could do anything I want all day, and I'm really bad when I'm not accountable to someone because I'm just like, oh, I'll get to that, and then it's like 9 p.m. and I haven't done anything.
You only hurt your own feelings.
Yes, which I've done many times, so it's easy to handle.
Yeah. Do you want to start recording our podcast now?
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to Make Me, a podcast where we force each other to do things we couldn't be bothered to do ourselves. I'm Julia.
And I'm Jordan.
Welcome back, everyone.
How are you doing, Julia?
Oh, I'm okay. Life's good. How are you doing?
I hate my life.
Oh, good. It's tough
I'm just
times
kidding.
we're living in, though.
I'm doing it though, you know? I'm
Yeah,
sticking in there.
You're alive. That's good.
I am alive. Every day. Nevertheless, she persisted. Who starts off this week?
I think you do.
It's me?
I think so, because I did magic first.
Okay.
Last time.
Before we get into the podcast, I know that we talked about this last time, but I just want to reiterate that we love all of you listeners, and you have all been very, very helpful. But one thing I'm realizing is that people aren't subscribing to our podcast.
Yeah.
They're listening, but not subscribing. And we love the listens. We love the clicks and the likes.
But we also love the subscribes.
We love the subscribes.
They're much less sexy, but you're more likely to listen and like catch every new episode if you subscribe to us.
Exactly.
It pops up on your little phone in the morning.
Get those notifications.
Yeah.
What if we said something like, if we get up to 25 subscribers, let's say 50 subscribers total, we'll start rolling out some merch.
Okay, that works for me.
I think that's a good make me for us, but our listeners have to do part of the work.
So we need 50 total subscribers before we start making merch.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Okay, cool. So if anybody wants merch, then you have to subscribe.
And you have to get your friends to subscribe even if they don't listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Or make them listen to the podcast.
Well, obviously make them listen to the podcast, but you know, my mom doesn't know how to use Apple Podcasts, but I could make an account for her and subscribe.
Exactly. I've already made 4 Apple accounts just so I could subscribe to our podcast. What's stopping you from doing that?
Yeah, nothing. Except for your time and precious energy.
Right. Okay, so I guess I'll get started. This is why people are here.
Yes.
To remind everybody what I'm doing this week, Julia made me cook a full meal using only a microwave.
That's your only like media for cooking, for the cooking aspect.
And what she doesn't know is that I can barely cook with everything else, so this was an extra hard challenge for me. Julia, what is your what's like your experience using a microwave to cook meals?
Sure. I was a big frozen meal eater in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got wrangled into this, but many girls I know got wrangled into like the lean cuisine, the like Marie Callender's low calorie bullshit dinners, and they all tasted not good. Yeah. But you were like, oh, it's only 100 calories for a full meal. It's great, which like makes no sense. And then sometimes I get the Trader Joe's ones because they're actually good, and sometimes you're just lazy and you don't want to cook.
Yeah, the Trader Joe's ones are really good. I feel like we've definitely stepped up our microwave meal game, But
Oh,
do
for
you
sure.
remember Kid Cuisine?
Yes, I think I got them like one time.
Those were always so disgusting, but for some reason I always wanted them, and it came with like that shitty brownie that would just like burn
Yes.
on your tray, and like the
And like a
shitty mac and
whole, like a
cheese.
frozen cob of corn, but
Yeah.
like cut. And then
Yeah.
when you microwave it, it's like lava.
Yeah. Different parts of it were lava, different parts were ice cold.
Yes. I just like, why? We don't even need that.
Honestly, it's delicious. I'm like triggered by anything that tells me that you have to leave the wrapper on, but you just poke holes in the top of the fork and then you can hear it
Yes.
whistling.
Yeah. I've never heard it whistling. What do you
Oh, never mind.
mean?
Never mind. That's only for like hardcore microwave meal people.
I I got the kid cuisine like one time, and I think we were just tricked into them being good because that little penguin dude was like snowboarding on the
Wait, he
commercials.
was so cool.
Yeah, I want to be him.
And it was like a Chuck E. Cheese commercial where like it made it seem like so much fun, but like the actual experience is like nasty.
Yeah, it's like you can smell everyone's germs on everything
Oh
there.
God. It, it, it's weird to think that it took me until to like for a pandemic to happen to think about how gross a Chuck E. Cheese is.
I mean, I've been feeling that way about most everything we do.
Yeah, no, for real. This is a small tangent. But Nathan and I were talking about how like, now's a good time to start saving money and all that kind of stuff. We're like, oh, we'll just eat out less. And we're like, we haven't eaten out in so long and like we don't feel any less fulfilled. So it's
Yeah,
like, why were we doing it before?
right.
Kind of thing.
But it's different. I think it's different now because when I go out to eat, we go out to eat with friends. And
Yeah,
now you can't have the friend interaction anyway. So I feel like you don't feel like you're missing out on anything because no one's going out to eat.
right,
Versus if it was regular times and you weren't going out to eat, like you see everyone else is at brunch without you and you're
right.
at home sad eating scrambled eggs.
Yeah, but why can't we all just go to like our house and eat scrambled eggs?
Yeah, someone bring champagne, someone bring
It'd be
orange
so much
juice.
cheaper. It'd be
And
so
it'd be
much cheaper.
fun too.
I think it'd be more fun because you don't have to worry about like the societal like pressures of like looking a certain way, A, acting a certain way, B, and then like paying a shit ton of money to do it
Yeah,
at
and then
the
you can
end.
all sit on the couch and watch America's Next Top Model afterwards
Right, exactly.
for
And
like
then you could just like
hours.
or just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for this week, I had to make the microwave meals. I decided to get into how a microwave works because
Yes.
I don't understand it. I will say that I did a lot of research and I still don't understand it, but I will
Okay.
read you what I read and
Okay.
then you can choose to internalize it or not.
Okay. We'll see if I can understand it.
I got my information from Wikipedia, the FDA, and another random site that I'll talk about when I get to
Okay.
it. So, a microwave oven, which is commonly known as a microwave, is an electric oven that heats and cooks food by exposing it to electromagnetic radiation in the microwave frequency range. This induces polar molecules in the food to rotate and produce thermal energy in a process known as dielectric heating. Does that make
Oh,
any sense to you?
okay. So waves go into the food and heat things up.
Yes, exactly. So, a microwave is just a type of wave
Hmm.
of a certain frequency, and it sits between infrared and radio waves.
Okay.
So what's happening is this machine, like the microwave oven, is producing waves that hit molecules in food that are making the molecules like get bigger or not
Yeah.
bigger, move fast, and the
Yeah.
friction is what's causing the food to heat up.
Right. So if you put your hand in a microwave, would it be hot?
No,
But until all your molecules start to heat up.
exactly. So the misconception with, well, I don't know if this is a misconception, but growing up, I thought the microwave oven just got hot on the inside. So
Right.
everything got hot.
Like an
But if you
oven.
notice, like sometimes you'll put certain things in the microwave, like certain dishes, and the dish gets hot and the food doesn't. And I
Yeah.
think it's because certain, like whatever the material of the dish is more susceptible to like the movement of the molecules, and that's what's like doing
Oh.
the work. And like how like if you put more food in the microwave, you need more time.
Yes.
It's not it that's why. It's not like heating up and like the whole temperature of like the box is a
Right.
certain temperature.
Right. It's like it's targeting the molecules itself of the food, not just
Yeah.
like the air in there.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Um,
crazy that we even know what these invisible waves are.
yes, for sure. And this is why science confuses me and is scary to me.
Yes.
So, according to the FDA, microwaves are a form of electromagnetic radiation, which we kind of covered, and it spans a broad spectrum from very long radio waves to very short gamma rays. The human
Mhm.
eye can only detect a small portion of the spectrum called visible light. So this is
Yes.
kind of describing light. Well, not
And
light, but waves.
I learned yesterday that, well, I think I already knew this. Anyway, I was retold yesterday that light is a particle and a wave.
Yeah. Speaking of light, I've been watching The Universe on Netflix.
Is that with Carl Sagan?
I don't know. Who's that? Is
He's
he
an
a narrator?
astrophysicist.
He might
No,
be
it's with
on it.
Neil
Neil
deGrasse
deGrasse
Tyson.
Tyson's on it.
Yeah.
But one thing that freaks me out a lot is that when we see like planets and things, it's what they or galaxies mostly like past our own galaxy or our own solar system. It's from like millions of years ago because
Yeah.
that's how long it takes for like the light to get to our planet.
Right.
So it's like, what does it look like now though? Like it could be fully developed and like full on Star Wars could be happening.
Right. Or it could just be gone. Like it could have gone supernova already and we wouldn't know.
Yeah, or the effects of global warming have like wiped it out completely.
Yeah, because they have global warming in the same planet on different planets.
But anyway, back to microwaves. Microwaves themselves are also used to detect speeding cars and to send telephone and television communications. And I found that it's used for wireless networks, radar satellites, spacecraft communication, medical treatments, such as for cancer,
Hmm.
and garage door openers. And that was just like a few examples.
Whoa. So that leads me to believe that they're not harmful to humans.
Right. So the reason I looked up the FDA because I wanted to know like what the actual you know how you say like, you know, it causes cancer or like don't stand too close to it or whatever. The FDA didn't really mention anything about like its effects on your health,
Right.
except like it it can burn flesh, which is like kind of obvious. So like don't put your hand in a microwave. You
Right.
couldn't really do it because it needs to be closed, but still.
But is that just must be concentrated microwaves, because if it's used for like detecting speeding car, a human could walk in front of that, or like a garage door opener, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't hurt them. But that's
Right,
like a small
exactly.
amount and not concentrated.
Yes, exactly.
So is that why they have those screens on the front of microwaves, like the metal screen that has like little holes in it?
It must be.
My
Yeah.
mom told me when she was pregnant that her mom and my dad's mom wouldn't let her stand near the microwave. Like if she turned the microwave on, she had to like run away from it.
I mean, back then you never knew like what was going to happen, you
Right.
know?
I feel like we don't even know now.
I mean, and how long ago was that? Because the microwave isn't really that old.
Right.
This says like 1947 it was invented, but it wasn't like really like accessible until like the 60s.
Right. So
It was
then,
as like it was introduced as like a low cost like daily thing,
right.
household thing.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it was invented by Percy Spencer, who was an American engineer, and it was invented after World War II from radar technology, and it
Okay.
was an accident. In 1947, the patent application, Percy Spencer, he worked for Raytheon,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a tech company or
Military
yeah,
company.
exactly. So one day, a dozen years ago, Spencer was visiting a lab where magnetrons, the power tubes of radar sets, were being tested. Suddenly, he felt a peanut bar start to cook in his pocket. Other
Whoa.
scientists had noticed this phenomenon, but Spencer itched to know more about it. He sent a boy out for a package of popcorn. When he held it near a magnetron, popcorn exploded all over the lab. The next morning, he
Whoa.
brought in a kettle, cut a hole in the side, and put uncooked eggs in its shell into the pot. When he moved a magnetron against the hole and turned on the juice, what? What does that even mean?
Like turned on the power.
Yeah. Who wrote this?
Turn on the juice.
A skeptical engineer peeked over the top of the pot just in time to catch a face full of cooked egg. The reason,
Ugh.
the yolk cooked faster than the outside, causing the egg to burst.
Holy shit.
This
That
seems
sounds
like
scary.
it does seem scary, but like for like things to be cooking like
Right.
unexpectedly and weirdly.
Also, like other people have noticed that it was cooking things and they weren't scared or curious about it. They're just like, oh, weird side effect that this food right next to me is cooking. Not worried about my flesh or anything.
No, it's like, oh, my peanut bar? Let me just go get other things.
Let me put my hand in front of it and see what happens.
But popcorn is noted as the first food to be cooked with the microwave. But it seems like it was that
Cool.
peanut bar.
Yeah, but that's not as exciting.
No, you're right. You're right.
It was probably like someone's butt was the first thing to be cooked by it.
Another thing that I learned is that you know how there are like pockets in your not pockets in your microwave, but you'll go to cook something in the microwave and like part of it is cold.
Yes.
So I was curious about that and I watched the video. So imagine the microwaves are like waves in water, okay?
Okay.
And you know how like you have like the ups and the downs and it's like
Mm-hmm.
moving and all that kind of stuff? Well, there's parts that aren't moving. They're staying still while like the rest of the pool is like
Right.
waving. Cuz like you need like is it an apex or like something like the part that's like staying still while everything's moving around it.
Right.
Where those places are, that's where the cold spots are. And they're
Huh.
hard to predict.
Right. And they're gonna be the same in every cook though, right?
I don't think so. I think when like the waves are initiated, like the microwaves like are entering, I think that like it's going to be different every time,
Huh.
which is why the turntable was introduced so that the food was moving so that it wasn't just like subject to the cold spots.
Right. Well, that
Um
makes sense. This also debunks I've been told like when you put food in the microwave, you kind of dig a hole out of the middle of it so that there's not like a big pile in the middle.
oh,
But that
interesting.
actually doesn't make sense because if, like you said, it's not that the oven is heating up, it's just
Yeah.
targeting certain parts of food. I mean, I guess if there's more surface area, that'll heat up
It's
faster,
more I
I
feel like it's more
guess.
you're more likely to hit the hot spots, but you're also more likely to hit the cold spots.
Right.
But also sometimes for some reason, mashed potatoes are in my head as like a food to microwave.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it doesn't matter if there's cold spots in that anyway, because you're gonna mix it all together. So you want the average of the hot and the cold
Right.
anyway.
So you want like one half to be boiling and one half to be ice, and then you mix together and it's edible.
It's edible, exactly. Which is
I feel
where
like
hot pockets are wrong because you can't you can't choose
you
that.
can't like shake up a hot pocket and get all the goo mixed together.
Okay, so I got the idea from the Jenna Julian podcast to make mug meals in my
Oh,
microwave
mug meals.
because I was like deliberating, like, should I try to cook something normal? Not
Mm-hmm.
normal. I don't want to say normal, but should I cook something that I would try to cook in like an oven or on the stove?
Yeah.
Or should I like, do something different? I read when I was doing my research that you shouldn't just cook food in the microwave because like it's only going to make it hot. It like doesn't add any flavor because like when you cook
Right.
something on the stove or in the oven it gets like the crispy bits depending on what
Right.
it is and like that
Yeah.
adds to part of the
It
flavor.
like caramelizes instead of just reaching a temperature.
Right, exactly. So just like because heat's not being introduced at all, it's not getting that. And I was like
Oh.
I'd rather try to make something that's going to be like yummy and delicious
Yeah.
than like try to deal with something
Right.
else or like make something out of
Or
something
like
else.
poison yourself with something.
Yeah, exactly. So I started with a mug pizza.
What?
It was I'll tell you how to make it first. I picked it because A, I love pizza. B, that was the example they used. Well, not the example, but that's how I got the idea with Jen and
Yeah.
Julian podcast because love their podcast, but they decided to take this podcast, half of the podcast, to eat a mug pizza, and I fucking hate listening to people eat their
Yeah,
food,
it's the worst.
which is why I decided not to like actively do this for the pod, and I
Right.
decided to actually just report back about it
Nice.
because I would be doing a disservice to people if I made them listen to me eat this food,
Yeah, I wouldn't allow you to do that, I don't think.
especially because like it's hot So you're like, it'd be me going.
You'd be
And the cool thing about mug pizzas is that they're so easy. So what you
Okay.
do, you have a pen handy?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you take 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour,
Okay.
1/8 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/16 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of milk, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil.
That's a
And you
lot of ingredients already.
So I had to go grocery shopping for this, but also these are things that I should probably have in my home anyway if I ever
Yes.
like want to cook something.
Yes.
So I feel like a full-on adult now that I have these things, so I can make my mug pizzas.
My mug pizzas.
So you take all those things and you mix it together and it makes dough at the
Okay.
bottom. And then it says a tablespoon of marinara sauce. I didn't measure this. I just like you've kind of like leveled out at the bottom, and you take the marinara sauce so it like cover like to your liking. Do you want a lot? Do you want a little? And then you take a little bit of like if you want to some like Italian seasoning or Italian herbs or whatever, or just like oregano or some basil, and then you take some shredded mozzarella cheese, and it says a generous tablespoon, but what I did is I made a layer of it, and then I took my pepperoni and I put it on, and I did another layer of cheese and then another layer of pepperoni, so that you have like
Wow.
the full thing.
Getting fancy.
Yeah, and then you just put it in the microwave for like a minute and a half, depending on like how long it takes your microwave to do it.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
Really?
I was like really, really shocked. Yeah.
What was the crust like?
I didn't know how to describe it at first because it felt like it was something that I had never tasted before. Or like texture wise, because it was just flour and milk and like it's like
Right.
the typical stuff. But I made another one last night because I just got hungry. I can describe it best as a dumpling. It feels like a dumpling.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like it would be like a pudding texture almost.
Yeah, so the first one I made, it came out perfect, and the second one I made, I hastily made it because I was like excited about it and hungry. One thing I'll say is mix the dry stuff really well first, and then introduce your liquids. Because the second one I made, there was like a pocket of baking powder or baking soda or something.
Yeah.
The other thing that pissed me off is that it calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon and 1/16 of a teaspoon, and I don't have measurements for that.
I was gonna ask because I had to measure 1/16 a teaspoon of instant yeast yesterday, and I was like, who even has that small of a teaspoon?
Right. So I had, and since it's baking, you probably shouldn't do this, but I had to use my 1/4 of a teaspoon thing and like just like kind of like eyeball it, which it turned out fine. And for this, it really wasn't a big deal because what the real draw of it is like the cheese and the sauce and the pepperoni.
Right. So how does it compare to like a frozen pizza?
Taste wise?
Yeah.
I would say better because
really?
because I feel like in a frozen pizza, the marinara and the cheese were just like frozen, and it like it's not as good. And like the frozen pizza sauce tends to be really, really sweet. Yeah. Where I got to like get my like normal marinara sauce I use for everything.
I just like can't my brain is not understanding how the dough is good and pizza like it's like a pizza flavored soup.
it's like I said, it's like a dumpling, so it's more solid. Like when you eat it and you take a spoonful of it, you leave a spoon, like you leave a spoon divot. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like filling, it's not like a soup or anything. It is a solid.
Huh.
And it is kind of bready, but like in a dumpling way.
Huh.
There's not like pockets of air or anything. It's like
springy a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. The second one I made, though, I undercooked it, and like I said, there was that pocket, so it just was kind of like raw in the middle, and that was my fault because I like I said, I made it too fast and like wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
And I think I like lost count, and when I was putting flour in, I was like, I don't know how much I put in, and then it was a lot.
It's still edible.
It was exactly because like I was like, it's just, if it tastes weird, like it doesn't matter. Like this is all stuff I'm eating.
Right.
It's just flour mostly.
Right.
But the one I made last night was like, I think I just perfected it, and it was like, and it's like the perfect like. I always want pizza, and it's like the perfect like. I'm gonna go a little bit into like my food.
Yeah.
The way I eat.
Yeah.
But I'm always hungry at like 8.
Yeah.
For something savory, and then something sweet. But it's like the perfect like, oh, I don't have like any ready-made snacks and I don't want to full on make a meal right now. I can
Right.
just make this really quickly, and it's like minimum like dishes. It is
Yeah.
kind of messy because of all the flour and all like the powdery stuff and like that, and you do have to get a lot of stuff out. But
Yeah.
for the most part, for 1.5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
of cooking time, it's pretty easy.
Wow, my mind's blown.
It's so good. I
The
honestly
way you
recommend.
describe it, I have to say, it doesn't sound like it's that good.
Well, so I was skeptical too, and that's why I've been thinking about it for so long.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm not even kidding you. This before we even decided to bring back the podcast,
Yeah.
I had this written down on a piece of paper. At the top says mug
Oh my
pizza.
God.
So when you told me a microwave meal, I was like, I'm set, baby.
I've been thinking about this for 2 damn years.
So then you said a full meal, so I decided dessert.
Okay.
Now I've been skeptical of microwave desserts because the same reason I'd be like skeptical of a microwave pizza, because like what does that mean?
Right.
I'm not a big cake person, and I'm not even a big like brownie person. When it comes to desserts, I either want like ice cream or
Oh
I
yeah.
want chocolate chip cookies.
Ooh, or both
Those are
together.
my
Ooh,
things.
yeah.
Cake only for birthdays really, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of it. And brownies, I just like have never been like a big brownie person.
Yeah.
But I was having a chocolate craving. So this has helped a lot because I get really bad cravings and like I'm really bad at grocery shopping. So like being able to like cook something like this with ingredients that I have easily is like kind of the dream.
Yes.
So forgot to mention that I got these recipes from Gemma's Bigger Bolder Baking. And this baking blog has like over 100 like mug recipes.
Yeah.
But most of them are desserts, and most of them are just like different flavors of cake.
Oh,
There's not
weird.
a lot of like, it's mostly things that you can bake, obviously. There's
Right.
not a lot of like variation. But anyway, was craving chocolate, so I decided to try to make mug brownies.
Okay. I've
So
heard
the
of
recipe
this.
called for basically 3 tablespoons of everything.
That's
Okay,
easy.
3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, brown sugar, cocoa powder, flavorless oil, so like canola oil, coconut,
Mm-hmm.
sunflower, or vegetable, or whatever you just choose, and water, with a pinch of salt, a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 2 teaspoons of chocolate chips.
Okay.
I didn't have chocolate chips, so I didn't get to do this. And it said that you had to put it in for 45 to 60 seconds. So I did a full minute. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, my microwave's older, so I had to do 10 seconds longer for the mug pizza.
Right.
It said like a minute, like 20, minute 15, but I had to do a whole minute and a half for it
Yeah.
to like be to my liking. But I also did put a lot of cheese,
Right.
so I think that was part of the reason. I put it in for a minute and like it did nothing.
It was just like a goo.
It was just a goo. So I did a whole other minute, and it finally cooked. And I don't know if I did something wrong, but it was disgusting.
Oh God. Why did it taste like?
So it was really dense. And I know that brownies are usually pretty dense, but this almost
Mm-hmm.
had like a I don't know how to describe it. Like the sandy layer of soil
Oh.
texture in my mouth
Oh
while
God.
still like remaining a solid.
Did you put dirt into the cup by accident?
I might have. Oh, it says cocoa powder and not soil found in your backyard. I get those mixed up
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah. Well, you do have those containers right next to each
I
other in the
do, yeah.
pantry,
My
yeah.
IKEA jars. um, I just like I wasn't happy with it, and I did, and I don't know if I could have done. I didn't want to recreate this one because I just like was so unhappy with it. Like
Yeah,
the bug pizza one, the second time I messed up, I was like, this wasn't bad enough for me not to want to try to perfect it.
right.
But the brownie was so disgusting. I couldn't finish it either.
Yuck. I feel
So
like what I was going to say before all this is that someone that really enjoys food and cooking, the mug category of foods is I just like I can't imagine that it's good. And I
yeah,
figured that the desserts would be better because it's just like sugar and chocolate and like how could that be bad? But now
right.
you've debunked that.
I mean, so this is just one recipe I use, so it could be like good other places and other recipes, but I don't feel like going beyond that. I think I'm just
No.
gonna stick to ice cream. And like I said, I'm already iffy about certain desserts anyway.
Right. You'd
What
rather
I
eat
want,
pizza than dessert.
yeah, what I want is like a mug pie.
Ooh.
But if I'm gonna make a pie, I'm gonna make a big pie. Like, I'd rather just make a big pie and then have pie.
Like, if you want pie, don't you want a really good pie, not
Exactly.
a mug pie?
But like, so brownies and cakes are always meh to me anyway. So why not
Yeah.
just like make a meh y'all can comment mean things about this. I don't care.
I feel like the mug category of dishes was invented by like suburban moms who really wanted cake but knew they didn't have self-control around a whole cake. So they're like,
Yes.
let's find a way to make a cake in a one portion size, and also it's not very good, so you don't want a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So here are my thoughts on it. The one thing I wish I had was chocolate chips, because it's brown sugar and cocoa powder. So that's like what's bringing the flavor to it.
Yeah.
And it's equal parts. And I don't know if that's too much cocoa powder, because cocoa powder isn't like sweet on its own.
It sounds like too much.
I don't think it was enough sweetness. And I think that's probably where the chocolate chips kind of came in. But I just assumed that was just like an add-on.
Yeah.
So I will say, if I did it again, and I might, since I have the cocoa powder now and all the other stuff, I'll add the chocolate chips. And the other thing I wish I had was ice cream to put on top of it.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, ice cream fixes everything.
But I feel like if you're going to have a mug brownie recipe, make it good enough just to want to have the mug brownie. Like, don't make me add the other thing to it too.
Right. Because why wouldn't I just have the ice cream?
Exactly. It's my thought exactly.
Even bad ice cream is good.
That's false.
Okay, mediocre ice cream is still good.
It's still good, yes. So my last notes on the mug brownie is that I want to fist fight the person who came up with this recipe, because I'm pissed off about it. And I tried to like justify like what I did wrong, and I was like, no, this is just I decided that this is just a bad recipe.
Right. There's plenty of brownie recipes that don't have chocolate chips that are good.
Yes. So that concludes microwave meals.
I'm so happy. Wait, we gotta rate it. What's our rating system?
I used a rainbow mug for my cookings. So out of 10 rainbow mugs, I'll give the way I felt beforehand a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Because I was not nervous. I just like didn't know what I was gonna do. And then I give my execution and how I feel after probably like an 8 out of 10, I guess. I'm like, because I feel like I did it, and I kind of like picked two things that are on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to these things. But I learned something, and I can use and have in my repertoire, and it's really easy. Like I said, on a whim, it's now part of my whole thing that I on a whim just like made a mug pizza, like outside of this whole thing, and not even thinking about the podcast. But the mug brownie like really pisses me off. So I would give it a 10 out of 10 if I didn't like have such a terrible time with that mug brownie.
Right. And we also fulfilled your 2-year-long dream of making a mug pizza.
Exactly.
That's pretty good. A 7 to an 8 is pretty good.
Yeah. Do you want to take a break?
Yes. I gotta take a break.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, lovely listeners. Are you like an influencer or a musician or an artist?
Or a cookie baker?
Or a cake baker?
Someone that makes things and aren't tied to large corporations?
This is a part of the podcast where we would probably read some cool, nicely written ad copy, and here we are just like chatting right now.
And you know, most podcasts do ad reads, but they do them for mattresses and toothbrushes and website creators.
And literally no one uses either three of those things.
We would love to promote like bands, artists, Instagram influencers that otherwise wouldn't get the ad reads.
And here's the kicker, you guys. It's like 1,000% free.
1,000,000,000% even.
Yeah. So just let us know. DM us.
We for real just want to do some ad reads for people that we would love to support that aren't getting this type of promotion.
Yeah.
It helps us. It helps you. and it'll be a super fun time, and maybe we'll be best friends afterward.
Yeah. So either DM us at MakeMePod on Instagram or email us at makemepod@gmail.com with what you'd like us to promote, where we can find you, and some tidbits about what you're making.
We'll let you know when we put out the episode with your ad in it, and you can promote it all over your socials and hopefully give us a shout out.
Yeah. So we hope to hear from you guys.
It's a mutual relationship.
Bow chicka wow wow.
Bow, bow.
All right, back to the show. Welcome back from the break, everybody.
Oh my God, thank you.
And the front half, I talked about microwaves, and now we're not going to talk about microwaves.
Yeah, fuck microwaves.
What are we talking about now, Julia?
All right, this week I had to confirm if Big Bad Beetleborgs stood the test of time.
You guys, I'm so excited.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that we didn't have a good time with this.
Just like as a preamble, I texted Jordan in the middle of the week and said, I know we're not supposed to talk about the make me's before recording, but I hate you for making me watch this.
And I don't regret a minute of it.
He said, I hate you for saying that. So before we get into it, Jordan, I know you have history with this, but tell us a little more about
it. So the Big Bad Beetleborgs was something that felt like a dream to me. I remember it so clearly, and I've looked up clips of it, but never sat down to do the damn thing.
Yeah.
And everything. Have you ever watched a movie and then forgot about it and watched it again, and you remember every second of it while you're watching it, but you don't know what happens next?
Right. It's like you are writing it as it's happening.
Yes, exactly. It's like the biggest deja vu thing. I remember it so clearly. I personally am obsessed with Power Rangers, and Big Bad Beetleborgs. For people who don't know, it's kind of like the same concept as you have like these young kids who are like in costume fighting people. I won't go too far into it because I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed, and I love it. And I'll talk about more about it as you talk about it. But that's my history, is that it was around 4, 5, and 6. Those are the ages that I was into it.
Yeah.
And then it's not a franchise that took off. So it kind of just disappeared.
Right. Yes. So it was around the same time as Power Rangers was getting popular. I'll go into some history. I'm going to try to be to not give my opinion while I'm giving the overview. And then once we get into what I actually watched, I'll tell you what I thought about it.
Okay.
So for some information I got from the internet, Big Bad Beetleborgs, which rebranded later as Beetleborgs Metallics with an X. It's an American live action TV show. And there was only 2 seasons of it, and it was on Fox Kids.
Yes.
It was 1996 to 1998.
Yeah. And
the interesting thing, so it's when you're watching it, or if you see clips of it, it literally looks just like Power Rangers, but the suits are different. But it's the same quality of video, the same type of suits, the same type of action. And the interesting thing is that it was adapted from a Japanese show called Metal Hero Tokusatsu. And there was 2 seasons, one called Juko B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto was the second season. So it literally, they kind of collaborated with that show.
Yeah.
And made this show for the American audience.
Yeah. Never mind. I'll wait. I'll hold my questions.
And so compared to Power Rangers, it says it's a contemporary with Power Rangers, but it had a greater emphasis on sitcom than just Power Rangers, which they describe it as villain of the week, but it's really just the scene opens, the Power Rangers come across a villain, they have to figure out how to fight that villain, scene's over, the show's over.
Yeah.
But this was more of it kind of felt less developed, but in a similar vein as a Full House narrative. So there's season long narrative, but also each episode has its own conflict.
Yeah.
And the whole show, they tell you, if you watch an episode of this show, the opening credits, they sing the Big Bad Beetleborg song that goes like this. Big Bad Beetleborgs.
Beetleborgs. Big bad Beetleborgs.
And then there's like a voiceover that's like, 3 kids in a small town. They go to the Hillhurst mansion. They come across a little ghost who turns them into Beetleborgs. And that's
the
that's
fact
the
that this doesn't bring you
scene.
so much joy pisses me off.
That's like the whole synopsis of the whole show and the whole first episode. So these kids, there's like a spooky like haunted house in their town, which haunted houses I feel like were a huge theme of the late 90s.
Yeah, I
love a haunted house.
A la Goosebumps.
Yes. So there's this haunted house. They get like dared to go into it and stay in there for like an hour without being scared and leaving. While they're running around from these monsters that live in there, they like bump into an organ, and this genie type ghost, they call him a ghost, but he's more like a genie, comes out of a
He's
organ.
also blue.
Yeah, I'll get into him. So he like comes out of this thing, and he's like, well, you awoke me, so like what's your dream, like what do you want your wish to be? And they were like, well, this can't be real, right? But if it is, like, let's make it awesome. Let's become Beetleborgs, because these kids are obsessed with the comic book in the show Beetleborgs. And then they become Beetleborgs. It's that simple. And then they start fighting crime. That's the show.
There's 2 boys and 1 girl, and they're like young kids.
Yes. So there's 2 siblings, Drew and Joe, and then their friend Roland is the second boy.
Yeah.
And they're young. They're probably like 12 is the oldest age.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then like while they become Beetleborgs, you know, genies always have like a twist like to their granting wishes. So they made the kids Beetleborgs, but also brought the villains from the Beetleborg comic to life as well.
Yeah. So they had something to fight.
Yes. So does that sound familiar to you? Or are you having flashbacks?
Yes, it all reminds me. And then you left out a part where isn't there like a mummy and a werewolf that live with the ghost?
Yes. So the whole house is actually full of monsters. So you learn that throughout the first seasons. Like the house, you only meet like the Frankenstein, a vampire, and a mummy, and this ghost. But then in like the 3rd episode, someone wants to tear down the mansion, and the ghost is like, we can't do that, because if you do that, you'll unleash all the monsters. And there's like thousands and thousands of monsters in this house that you just like haven't come across yet. And every episode, like a new one is introduced just for like a quick gag or something.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You got deep. You got all the way in episode 3.
I got episode like 6.
Oh my goodness. And you didn't like it? You sat with it for 6 episodes? That's 3 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Okay, so just like my overview understanding of it, I wrote some notes down as I was watching this. And some of it like sounds like a critique, but it's really just what all kids shows are like. So as I was watching it, I was like, this is bad acting. Like the quality of like the cinematography is not good. But then I was thinking back about like Power Rangers and other stupid kid shows I watched, and they're all the same.
Yeah, I mean, think about like any Disney Channel show. It's like kids in colorful garb yelling at each other.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yell talking.
Yes. But I think the part that was the most jarring is that it feels like a direct Power Rangers knockoff. Like they saw Power Rangers and was like, how can we capitalize on this already established franchise?
Yeah. Because
the suits look exactly the same.
They're just shiny.
And the battle scenes, so in every episode except for like the first episode, there's a fight scene between the comic book villains and the Beetleborgs. and no one ever dies. It's always like weird red electricity and like a lot of punches and like someone levitating someone and throwing them into a wall, and then they're just like all dizzy in a pile of garbage. And like the
Right.
next, and then we're like, we defeated them, and then the next episode they're back.
Right. Isn't there a level, like, don't they get superpowers with it? Like, can't Joe levitate things with her mind?
Yeah. Not Joe. I think Drew can.
Oh.
But and then Roland has like super speed, so he like
Oh,
unravels a mummy by running around it.
right. And Joe has super strength.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So they become Beetleborgs, but that doesn't mean that they're in the costume the whole time. They have to like they have like a little Palm Pilot thing that they can summon by saying some catchphrase I don't remember.
Which is the same as Power Rangers. It's like
yes.
they say, it's morphin' time, and then they turn into like
okay, so it's exactly that.
yeah.
They get these little Palm Pilots. They're like Beetleborgs, blah blah blah, and then they play the Big Bad Beetleborgs.
And their costumes are like anthropomorphic, like beetle-esque kind of things.
Like one of them has big pinchers on their head that doesn't move. It's just like for prop.
Yeah.
And they have like exoskeletons. And there's a green, a blue, and a red one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was trying to be objective about it.
Give it all to me.
One thing that also, okay, I'll get to my biggest gripe later, but there's just like so many things that like if this was created nowadays, it would be so much better, I think. But like because it was the 90s and we didn't know anything about TV, it was just like poor writing. There's like all these plot holes, and the like battle isn't that fun. But then like looking back at Power Rangers, like the fighting isn't fun, and that's why it's fun.
Yeah, it's all cheesy
like, it's so
and bad.
Stupid. Yeah. Also, like 80% of the dialogue is really terrible insults.
Yeah.
Like the kids are insulting themselves, their friends, the villains, and vice versa. And like if you made it so like each person gets one good insult an episode, there would be like no dialogue.
Right. Yeah.
And
how long do you think they sat in a studio? Because a lot of it is them in costume. Like, how long do you think they had to sit in studio just like yelling weird stuff?
Yeah, probably like the villains, all they do is call each other like idiots, or like insults that don't hurt because they're so dumb.
Yeah.
Like they called the Beetleborgs like the Beetle dorks.
Beetle dorks.
The Beetle dorks. So there's 3 villains. They have the same type of suit. There's like a red one, a green one, and a blue one, kind of. And one of them has a really terrible Russian accent. And like it's clearly an American who's never heard a Russian talk. Right. Speaking like a Russian person.
It's like the go-to bad guy. Like,
yes.
Like in any action movie, kind of.
Yes.
Ambiguous, like
Eastern
Eurasian,
yeah.
accent.
Yes. One of them sounds like Fat Albert.
Oh no.
And one of them sounds just like he's from Brooklyn.
They're international.
Yes.
Are they humans?
It seems like they're humans in suits, but you never see their human side. But sometimes like their arm will extend and you see like their arm underneath their suit.
Do you think that's on purpose? Or do you think it's like it was like a costume flub?
I don't know. Well, 2 of them are like definitely humanoid, and one of them looks like a human, and then his head opens up like a Venus flytrap almost.
Oh, weird.
But he has a face underneath it.
Speaking of flub, what's the name of the ghost?
Yes. Okay, this is my biggest problem with this show. The ghost, who is not a ghost, he's a genie. His name is Flabber.
Flabber.
And he has like a blue face. His face looks identical to a caricature of Jay Leno. Like a huge chin, a big nose, like a nose you could honk like a clown nose. His hair is Elvis, and his outfit looks like Liberace. And they say, like, all the things I read say that it was based off of Elvis, but nothing about the way he acts is like Elvis. except for like sometimes he'll say like mama or baby or like do like a weird move like Elvis, but it's so not often that's like, okay, only he like kind of looks like Elvis.
Yeah.
And it's so clearly a ripoff of the genie from Aladdin. Like 100%. All of the
Right.
quick all of the gags are things the genie did or really similar to it. The way he talks is just like Robin Williams. He like has all these like one-off jokes that are like you could have pulled them directly from Aladdin.
Yeah.
And it's like a genie character, and they had to make it dissimilar by like making him dress like Liberace and look like Jay Leno.
And call him a ghost.
Yeah, and call him a ghost. And his name is Flabber, and there's a Robin Williams movie called Flubber.
Okay, where and then what's your gripe?
Him, I hate him.
I was just kidding.
And also, like, I thought he was just gonna be in the beginning because he's the one that makes them into Beetleborgs.
Right.
But then he's in like every episode and they keep going back to him to like ask for advice or for help, but he can't really do anything.
Yeah.
And also he's very childish in some ways and is like always asking for the approval of the kids, the Beetleborg kids.
Yeah.
In like a creepy way. He's like, oh, did I make a boo-boo? And they're like, no, it was a good boo-boo. And he's like, but it was a boo-boo. And I'm like, this is gross.
Maybe he's like a young kid ghost and he just looks old.
I mean, he looks like he's 70. And in my notes when I was watching it, I just wrote Flabber-no underlined. But I mean, all things considered, I was telling Gary, like, I would let my kids watch this.
Yeah.
It's not bad in like content.
Yeah.
It's just like a dumb 90s show. I'm sure that
made for children.
And I'm sure that rewatching Power Rangers would be the same thing. They have all these like cheesy insults, weird action. There's not really a plot line you have to follow because you're just waiting for the action.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I didn't like it because I'm an adult.
Right.
And I don't have nostalgia with it.
Yeah.
And like, because it was like bad acting and like bad writing, it was kind of hard to watch. But if you could, like, it was easy to find like, oh, this is so weird and dumb. And so I could enjoy it that way.
I feel like it's super ephemeral at points.
Yeah.
Because all those concepts don't work together. Like comic book plus Haunted Mansion plus Power Rangers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So overall, it's hard to see why those three things would like work together.
It would have worked if it was like these kids loved Beetleborgs, which they established in the first episode. Mm-hmm. They're always at this comic book store because they love Beetleborgs. They get turned into Beetleborgs, and then the Haunted Mansion should just go away.
I could see that. But you need a home base. Like if you ever watch Power Rangers, you have like your like leader or whatever.
Right.
Or like the adult that you go to.
Right. Also, I think Power Rangers like this. I wasn't like a big Power Ranger kid, so you'll have to tell me. But every episode, like you'll see the villains doing something pretty mundane. And the kids are like, we have to stop this.
Yeah.
Like
no, they're totally cops.
They come across the villains, like they knocked over a hot dog stand and they're like squirting the dude who runs the hot dog stand with ketchup and mustard. And they're like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And like, why is it their decision? Like, why do they have to stop the villains from like knocking over trash cans and like pushing people?
Right.
But also they can like they can travel in space. Like the villains will be like, we got to get back to the den. And they become like orbs of light and just like travel to the den.
Weird. But they can't just travel back to the comic book?
No, because I guess the genie like brought everything to life from the comic book.
Gotcha.
The genie who is Robin Williams.
Right.
Oh, we were watching it and Gary, after the first episode, he was like, look up all those producers and make sure they're dead. But now he was like, this is actually a good show.
Yeah, it's good and it's weird and stupid, and I can see why, like, if you don't have the nostalgia for it,
Yeah.
it could just be like really hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's every show from our childhoods, though.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking it's very similar to the Pokemon versus Digimon debate.
Yeah.
Like, whichever one you got to first, Beetleborgs or Power Rangers, that's going to be your go-to.
So I would argue that I loved all four of those. But
Yeah,
I was also a boy in the 90s and the early
true,
2000s. You know what I mean?
true. This is one of those shows that, like, is completely harmless.
Agreed. And like, I think that I see myself in Flabber. You know what I mean?
No, I don't see you in Flabber at all.
I just feel like the like Beetleborgs and Power Rangers were so formative in like
Yeah,
my childhood growing up
yeah,
that it has reflected in like my adulthood. And
yes.
like the
That
things
makes
that I like
sense.
now. I
Yeah.
still to this day love things where every like it's like an action show where every character has like a color or a color scheme and
Mm-hmm.
like a specific power that they do, and
Yeah.
that like all their individual characteristics brought together can create like something really really like cool.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's just like Power Rangers where they
Like
become
Power
that giant
Rangers,
thing.
X-Men I really like because everyone has like a specific power.
It's like cooperation.
Exactly.
And that's what's cool about it. I
Yeah.
think that's why also I didn't like this as much as the Power Rangers I've seen, is because there was less continuity that way, where they would like kind of like you would kind of see their individual powers, but when they were just fighting as a whole, like everyone kind of had the weird electricity thing and everyone could punch and everyone,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, go red Beetleborg, we need you to levitate
Yeah.
someone.
Yeah.
Something interesting I learned. So there's like a whole section on the Wikipedia about production and like where they did all the production, how they did it. And they're just like blatantly used like decorations and monsters from Power Rangers.
Oh, really?
There's a whole section called reuse of monsters. And it says various monster suits from both Beetleborg seasons were reused with monsters or in Power Rangers series and vice versa.
Oh, weird.
This show has two sets of villains. They have like the villains from the comic book, but then also there's those two rich kids,
The bullies.
the bullies named Van and Trip, who are assholes.
They are
And
assholes. Don't they
they
steal the
like
bikes in the first episode?
no, they're the ones that like convince them to go into the haunted house.
Gotcha.
But they're like always rolling around in a Rolls Royce with a chauffeur. And they're always talking about how like they're the richest people in this town and how they're rich and how they can't, oh, there's a scene where they like there's a hidden treasure that the Beetleborgs are trying to find in the house, in the haunted house. And the kids, Van and Trip, are like, we can't let that happen because then if they get rich, then we will no longer like we'll be competing for richest in the town, and then there goes the neighborhood. And there's
And
like
those
weird
kids grew up
class.
to be Jeff Bezos and Mark
Both of them.
Zuckerberg.
It's just like a weird, I don't really know why we needed that weird class conversation in every episode.
Right, but I also like that whoever created the show decided that the rich people are villains.
Yes, because they definitely were. They were these kids the same age as the other kids were just huge assholes because their parents were wealthy,
Yeah,
which I guess is a real thing.
I felt that.
I felt that. And I think I don't know. Like I said before, it's just a show for kids, and that's why I didn't really like it. And the acting is like bad and overdone, and that's why it was hard to watch.
Yeah. I feel like if you try to make somebody who's never watched Hannah Montana before watch Hannah Montana right now,
Yes.
they'd be like, no. Or like they'll
Yes.
watch it and be like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yes, like I would babysit right after high school, and the kids would watch like Ninjago or something,
Yeah,
and I couldn't stand it. When
Yeah.
probably like 5 years earlier, I would have loved it.
exactly.
And my last thing is just like a question. So in
Yeah.
the first episode, they like cut to the mansion, and you're supposed to think it's like spooky. There's lightning strikes and stuff, and this kid's running out of the mansion scared, and like a little monster hand like comes out of the cracks in the stairs on the front of the mansion to like grab him,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like clearly a plastic like fake monster hand. Like
Yeah.
it's so obviously not real.
Yeah.
And I was as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, so a lot of my nightmares when there's like monsters in it or something scary, it's something I've seen in a movie that is, relatively realistic because we're living in 2020. And
Yeah.
there's like even Alien and Predator, like they're less movie makeup-y.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if back in the 90s and like early 2000s, everyone just had like their nightmares were full of really terrible visual effects and like movie makeup monsters.
I
Like,
mean, I'm sure. Have you ever watched like an old ghost movie?
yes.
They're terrible. Like
It's like,
the visual effects are so stupid. But
and
people
it's
like
like,
that was scary though.
right. Or like, yeah. And I was thinking even about like Freddy Krueger. Like his whole thing is that his face is messed up. And if you're just looking at it in the daytime, like a picture of him, you're like, that looks stupid and dumb. Like
Yeah.
obviously that's fake.
It's just everything that goes with it though, because I definitely had like Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
nightmares, which is scary to have a Freddy Krueger nightmare because then you're like, okay, this is it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. I'm done. But I think like if I had a dream with Flabber in it, I wouldn't be scared. I would just be like, this is so fake and dumb.
Yeah.
Whereas
Maybe.
if I had like, I don't know, what's like a recent monster movie, I feel like they're scarier, the new monsters we have.
Like the Babadook.
Yeah.
Or no, that's not a
Slender
good one.
Man.
Slender Man, that's scary. I'm trying to think of like, oh, all the ghosts from like the Conjuring movies.
Oh my God,
Those are
yes.
scary.
They're really scary. Even
Yeah.
like The Grudge is scary.
Yeah.
So I was laughing thinking about being in the 90s and having like a really terrible Frankenstein haunting my dreams.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be scary if it's like if you were where you were and then Flabber was also where you were? Like what like
Yeah,
and
that
you
would
weren't
scare the
expecting
shit out
it?
of
Wouldn't
me.
you also be scared?
Yes. But it'd be more scary if he was more scary, I
Yeah.
guess. Is
No,
what
I
I'm
get
saying.
that. So how do you rate your experience out of 10
Okay.
rainbow mugs?
So I was very excited to do this since I like watching dumb TV and I like hating on dumb TV. So
Yeah.
even though I say I hated it, it was fun to do. Um, so I would say at the beginning, I was like a 7 rainbow mugs just because I was like excited
Yeah.
and I didn't know anything about it. And it looked like Power Rangers. And I was like, oh, Power Rangers is like that same kind of bad but good.
Yeah.
And then after watching it, I'm just like so hung up on this Flabber thing. I hate him so much. I hate that he's a ripoff of a really good character done
Yeah.
horribly.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the show is good. I would let my kids watch it. I mean, it's just as stupid as any other kid show. So I'm gonna say it's at the same level, like a
A
7 out of
7.
10
Okay,
rainbow
that's fair.
mugs.
Okay.
Because it didn't like crazily exceed my expectations or like under
Underwhelm and it didn't
underwhelm
give you
me.
something like it didn't blow your mind and made you nostalgic for it also. I guess you
Right.
couldn't feel that way, but it didn't make you want to love it, but also
Yes.
it didn't like ruin anything.
Yes. And
And it wasn't
also,
like offensive.
right. But also, it wasn't, there's some things that are so bad that they're good that you're just going to keep watching forever. And this wasn't one of those for me.
That makes sense. It's not like weird enough to be like encapsulated and like watching 1 to 5 episodes or 3 episodes, I guess might be the sweet spot. Could be all
Yeah.
you need and then you can walk away from it.
Yeah. So I watched this, I don't know, this might be too late, but I watched like 6 episodes because I was expecting it to pick up because like the beginning is setting up like who the Beetleborgs are and what these characters are. And then like we got some actually good action by like episode 6.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Beetleborgs.
Nice.
I guess I suggest people watch it just for fun. Why not?
Wait,
And
where did you end up finding it?
it's on Netflix.
Nice. Okay,
And
good.
I actually want people to watch just the first episode or the first 2 just to see Flabber and understand what I'm getting at because I
Yeah.
feel like if you see his face you're like, "Oh, that's just like Jay Leno with a weird outfit on and weird hair."
Yeah.
But then you watch him and you're like, Robin Williams could have done this role a billion times better and he already did.
Right. It kind of is like a culmination of every like Robin Williams character, which is like who
Yeah.
the genie is.
Right. And I'm sure this dude, Billy Forrester, was like, Robin Williams is great. I'm going to do my best. It was kind of like a mix between Ace Ventura and Robin Williams.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to know what I'm going to make you do next week?
I would love to.
Okay. So for next week, I think I want to make you take 3 personality tests.
3 of them? Okay.
3. And I want to know everything about what your personality is.
Awesome. I had that on my list for you.
Weird. See, this is where we ran into the problem where we had to stop sharing each other's lists.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like there was some overlap there.
Yes. So any 3?
Any 3.
All right, you got it. And for next week, I'm gonna make you go geocaching.
Oh,
you
no.
know what that is?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I'm actually really excited about it.
I'll send you like the app and
Okay.
Stuff I've read about it.
I feel like my reaction to all of these is always, oh no. But it just like, it's because it's that thing inside of me that's like something new, but like I'm always set up, like the whole point of this is that I have to do something new, but every single time you give me something, I'm like, I've never done that before.
You're
though.
Like, I hate this idea. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I've gone geocaching before. It's fun. So I think
Is
you'll have
it?
a good time.
Okay, cool.
And also, you don't have to do, like, no one will see you, really.
Right. I'm also not afraid to be embarrassed by like doing something.
Yeah.
Do you have a make me for our listeners this week?
I do.
What are we doing?
All right. Listeners, this week, because the CDC kind of said it was safe to be in bodies of water as long as you're 6 feet apart from people, I want you to go to a public pool wearing nothing but an adult swim diaper and see how people react to you, and also the effectiveness of swim diapers, because I always thought they were like, they didn't work, and it was just like visually appealing to people to see a kid wearing a diaper in a pool rather than not.
Right. It's more for everyone else and not for the baby. And when you say test it, do you mean pee poopy in it or just be in it?
So on the pool deck, I want you just to be in it and see what people think about you.
I can't imagine a diaper holds in pee poo poo in water.
Well, that's what I want to know. Also an adult pee poo poo.
Right.
I mean, there must be adult swim diapers. This is why I need the listeners to go out.
Yeah. We want scientific evidence.
Extra points if you bring like a adult-sized baby bonnet and like an adult-sized rattle, like the baby Halloween costumes.
Calling upon all those people who dress as babies, which, going back to furry stuff, we're not saying anything negative about, but if you're out there, this is your time.
Yeah, speak your truth.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Or, you'll see us or hear us.
Call us up. Text us.
Call me, beat me if you want to beat me.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye. Love you.
I love you. Hey, guys, it's Jordan and Julia. Thanks for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it.
For content related to this episode, follow us at MakeMePod on Instagram. And you can hear episodes each week on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you find us anywhere else, please let us know.
You can also send us your questions, comments, make me suggestions, pictures of your dog, or requests for unlicensed medical advice to makemepod@gmail.com.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, rate, etc., etc. That's how we get discovered.
Please, we need to be clicked.
But for real, leave a comment so we know you love us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.